man's heart is full of hate. He butthurts, cries, and a dark shadow falls over this troll. From the ashes of a once great fandom has risen a meme, an LOL that must be liked. We look to the airwaves for a vindicator, someone to strike fear in the dark basement of the parents who created him. The battle between fan and smart has begun. With a head on his shoulders stands the smart fan, a speaker of truth, with a voice of silence, and a radio show of justice. This is Ring Rust.
So, much like last week, busy week, reviewing one show and previewing another show. It's gonna get worse, if you believe what's coming out of WWE. 2 pay-per-views a month. Anyway, I don't look forward to that aspect of it, but anyway. Squeezing it all into a 2-hour show, and mostly just me, and then I gotta play some songs, and, well, I don't got to, but I want to. So, on to the Slammiversary review from this past Sunday, from the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. So, we got 10 matches, including the pre-show. What does TNA do with their pre-shows? There's pre-show matches, I should think. Put it on Explosion, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to check out. I haven't watched Explosion in a while. They put it on their YouTube channel, I think. Or someone puts matches on YouTube, or anyway, whatever. I don't know where I think that's UK, isn't it? It's on TV in the UK? Anyway, I could look it up. Could, being the operative word. So, Mandrews defeated Paradise in a singles match. Doesn't say here how long the match was, again, because it wasn't televised, so no way to time it, I guess. So, Mandrews is named Mandrews, and, well, so, it's, as, I predict who I think is going to win a match, anyway, but it wasn't announced, so, and Eddie Edwards defeated Trevor Lee, Andrew Everett, and DJ Z in a fatal 4-way match or just a 4-way match, I don't think they specified fatal 4-way, to win his first TNA X Division Championship. I predicted actually Trevor Lee would retain that one. So, oh well, not really complaining. It was a fun match. It was you get your money's worth out of that 10 minutes, I think. So, congratulations to Eddie Edwards. Unfortunately, from what I'm hearing, what's going to be happening on Impact next week, he's not going to be holding it for very long. But oh well. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Next 2 matches from Slammiversary this past Sunday on pay-per-view, or stream per-view, or free per-view, or LOL per-view, or depending on how microscopic your Richard is. The Tribune, Basil Baraka, and Baron Dax, with Al Snow in their corner, defeated Grado and Mahabali Shira, and I called them the New School last week, because I like naming tag teams. So I predicted the New School would come out on top, because it seemed like that's usually what wrestling promotions do. They'll have a heel tag team beat up a face tag team, and then the face tag team goes over in a match. Or, to put it a little more simply, a Snidey Whiplash team will beat up on a Dudley Do-Right team, and then the Dudley Do-Right team will win in the end. But maybe it's not the end. I don't know. Maybe there's next pay-per-view. Not like Slammiversary is their big show or anything. Maybe they saved it for the Impact after Slammiversary. Like WWE does for the Raw after WrestleMania. The road to the Raw after WrestleMania begins with, it's a joke I've been seeing going around for the past couple of years. They do seem to treat Raw a little more special than, because they'll talk about what's happening on Raw after WrestleMania during WrestleMania, instead of talking about WrestleMania. You know, maybe that's just me. So I didn't predict that one right, but oh well. You are listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. And next up was a bit of an interesting match because Gail Kim was supposed to face Maria Kanellis in a match, but then Maria said, "Oh no, my hand is broken," as you can clearly see in this x-ray that Billy Corrigan from the Smashing Pumpkins brings out, because he's now the minority shareholder? What was the term? Anyway. And so that match was scrapped for a later date, and Maria doesn't regularly wrestle, so it may never happen. So Billy made a consolation and said, "Okay, Gail Kim, we'll add you to the Knockouts Championship match." So the regular Knockouts Championship match then became a triple threat with Sienna defeating both Jade, the champion, and Gail Kim. Not pinning both or anything, but just she won the match, so she defeated both women effectively to win her first TNA Knockouts title. So, yay her. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Anyway, this is Fabo Mark Jabroni. You are listening to Ring Rust. So back to the TNA Slammiversary review from this past Sunday on pay-per-view. James Storm was the guy who was to be announced to took on Braxton Sutter. And I did predict that since it was Braxton Sutter versus to be announced, I assumed it would be to be announced that would win. Actually, normally it would be... Well, yeah, because I didn't know Braxton Sutter was the one actually debuting. So I didn't really know who he was. I guess they've been talking about it on Impact, and I haven't really been paying attention to Braxton Sutter. So here we are. Anyway, usually if it's to be announced, the to be announced is the one who's making a debut, and that's the one who usually wins. And I did predict to be announced would win, and James Storm did win, so I guess kind of ironic too when James Storm says he was in TNA, he's been in TNA since the beginning. Except for that, couple of weeks when he was in NXT. Oh well. Onward and upward. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Eli Drake defeated Bram to defend his King of the Mountain Championship. All the title changes up to this point. And any other title changes? Okay. If you haven't seen it and you're looking to me for your results, then, well, congratulations, you managed to avoid results for a week. So, anyway, nice to see Eli Drake defending his championship. I like the character. I like his attitude. I like how bombastic he is. So, you're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. So, the next two matches for Slammiversary this past Sunday on pay-per-view saw Ethan Carter III defeating Mike Bennett with Marie in his corner in about 15 minutes, so that was rather hard fought. And yeah, I predicted EC3 would come out on top of that one because he was owed a win, I think, after being dominated somewhat by Michael Bennett, but oh well. Would have worked either way, I think. Would have enjoyed it, one way or the other. You are listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. And Jeff Hardy defeated Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere Full Metal Mayhem match. Now, I did call Jeff Hardy winning last week because I just liked the idea of Matt Hardy's facial expression. Already as crazy as he is, I like the idea of Matt Hardy's facial expression after losing to Jeff. So, and I was rewarded.
Space Thunder Kids! The evil forces of the Dark Emperor threaten the entire universe. All right, let's get them.
But with the might of Nami O'Hara and her Japanese music and culture show at their side, they can't possibly lose. Fridays at 5 p.m. Newfoundland time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Listen online at chmr.ca. heterosexual cavalcade of Uberswank. Fridays at 3 p.m., 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. Listen live on CHMR 93.5 FM, Alliance 787, Cable 942, or by the internet at www.chmr.ca.
I looked at you, your lips were moving, but I did not hear what you said.
It's flapping behind me.
There are some furry looking there.
Ha! You're as dumb as I am!
I said album. This is Fanboy Mark Jabroni. You're listening to Ring Rust. So, cluing things up for Slammiversary this past Sunday on pay-per-view from the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. Decay, or as I like to call them, the Nobodies, the specific tag team, because Decay is the overall stable, and I like differentiating between two people in a tag team, even if they're within a stable. But anyway, that's Crazy Steve and Abyss, or Psychotic Steve, as the Pope likes to call him, because LOL. Defended their TNA World Tag Team Championships against the Bromans, Jesse Goddard and Robbie E, in I don't know if I should say surprisingly entertaining match. Definitely clashing styles, more hardcore sort of, as John Bradshaw Layfield would say about Dean Ambrose, he's wrestling like he's using someone else's body, versus basically Pretty Boys, who, are somewhat technically sound, I guess. The greatest wrestlers, but not certainly the worst wrestlers either. So they're able to convey that they're wrestling bros, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. So I was entertained anyway. You were listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. And in the main event, saw Bobby Lashley, the Destroyer, defeating Drew Galloway by knockout to once again win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
This is 93.5 CHMR FM.
Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter @Mark Jabroni. And subscribe to Jabronology TV, youtube.com/fanboy Mark Jabroni. Macho fact. At the end of the universe, there is only Randy Savage. And the Macho Man finds Chuck Norris facts too unrealistic.
So, on to the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's still pay-per-view, I guess. Professional wrestling pay-per-view. It's on Wikipedia, it says professional wrestling pay-per-view. Not that really, and WWE Network event. So it's from the T-Mobile Arena in the Las Vegas suburb of Paradise, Nevada. I understand it's a rather lovely place by the dashboard light. Hilarious. So anyway, Dolph Ziggler will be taking on Baron Corbin. I imagine Baron Corbin's going to punch him in the face, and he's probably going to win it. Boom. But on the show-off, we'll show off while you're lying face down on the mat. Boom. Because, Baron Corbin's supposed to be a big dominant guy. If he doesn't dominate Dolph Ziggler, who has no problem losing to people, then there's something wrong with Baron Corbin and the way WWE wants to portray him, I guess. Fingers crossed, Baron Corbin's going to come out on top of that one, because it seems like it's the right move. A little bit of armchair quarterbacking, a little bit of, I actually have been involved in a wrestling promotion, so I know, and have been an assistant booker for at least one wrestling promotion, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they want Baron Corbin to go somewhere. I think he needs to win against Dolph Ziggler. And again, Dolph Ziggler, it's not really hurting for, he's obviously not all that upset, if upset at all, to be living his dream job and making money doing what he loves. He's not, winning an awful lot, but that's not really necessary to be happy and employed. More so, doubly so. You stay employed if you're willing to, as you internet wrestling fans like to say, do the job. Yeah, he's doing a job. He's doing his job. He's employed as a WWE superstar, which means WWE gets to tell him how he does his job. Basically, you're going to go out and you're going to put this guy over, or you're going to lose, or in some cases, putting someone over means beating them, but like eking out a tight victory, or making them look amazing just before you beat them with an underhanded move or something. But anyway. But of course, all these aforementioned internet wrestling fans will go ahead and say, oh, he's buried. Yeah, I don't think you will ever work in a wrestling promotion. Not only do you not work in a wrestling promotion now, you never will. So you might want to get used to that. Because you act like you don't want to work in wrestling promotion by talking this way, where people can see you comment on Facebook or Twitter. These unintelligent responses, but oh well, what do I know? You are listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jobronology TV. And Apollo Crews, moving on to the next match before I get off on too much of a tangent, too late, will be taking on Sheamus. And similar case, if they want to make Apollo Crews look impressive, unless, of course, they want to continue capitalizing on Sheamus being in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and have him win. I guess either way, I guess it wouldn't be confusing or anything. It's like, oh, why'd they do that? Okay, well, if Apollo Crews wins, WWE wants to do something with him, obviously, and if Sheamus wins, it's because of him being in the Turtles movie. And they want to have the guy in the Turtles movie. He's a bad guy in the Turtles movie, though. I don't know. There's a bad guy in WWE, so I don't know. So we'll see how it works out. I predict, though, Apollo Crews will come out on top of this one. He'll, because, after all, he is built to be champ.
Yes! Yes! Mind-taking! Stick with the kid, baby!
Gene.
Wow, that's a man kiss.
So back to the WWE Money in the Bank, live on pay-per-view, and the WWE Network, because it's still available on pay-per-view. So, I guess it's still technically pay-per-view. U.S. title match, which the champion Alexander Rusev taking on Titus O'Neil, whose partner is currently being made better again by WWE Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, because WWE Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, he's his own reason, really. So, I don't know, I just don't see Titus winning it just yet. If they have a feud, great. Then maybe after 2 or 3 matches he may win it while he's built up as the big hero. I mean, they partner him with Jack Swagger on Superstars and Main Event, so... And Jack Swagger's still doing the We the People thing, so anyway. Yeah, I don't see Rusev losing just yet, so that's how I call it. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jobronology TV. And there's a women's wrestling tag team match. Don't really call it Divas anymore, because they're not technically Divas, because they don't have the Divas Championship. Not that that means they aren't Divas, I guess, necessarily, technically. They are women wrestlers within WWE, so technically you could continue calling them Divas. But anyway, it sees, and once again, you'll see how I enjoy naming tag teams. It sees Done with Flair, 2 meanings. They do all things with flair. The actual, like they, woo, look at us, kind of thing. And they're done with Ric Flair. We're done with you. Get out of here. We've used you for as much as... So anyway, you get the joke. That's Women's Champion Charlotte and Dana Brooke versus Rugby World Cup 2015. because it was Canada versus Ireland. Natalya and Becky Lynch, although it's not really versus, I guess. But then again, I said the FIFA World Cup thing for Alberto Del Rio and Rusev. I think Bulgaria and Mexico. Yeah, okay. So it's not so much for their tag team. Not that they're going to be a tag team again. They might be. You never know. We'll see. So, again, I like naming tag teams. So, the least you could do is be respectful. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Go back to the WWE Money in the Bank preview for this coming Sunday on the WWE Network. Sees a fatal four-way tag team title match, which sees the champions of the New Day, Big E Langston and or Kofi Kingston and or Xavier Woods. I don't quantify which, because each combination of two I actually have a different tag team name for them. So, either Rudy Booty or Booty Tootie or Tootie Rudy, depending on who's in the... Anyway, versus Bulletproof, who I call Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, as the overall members of the club, which is all three of them. Although they were referring to the two of those guys as the club, but I guess now the whole thing's going to be the club, with all three of them. So, they're taking on Can't Teach That. Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, or Big Cass, don't have an official tag team name, so when they don't have an official tag team name, and obviously they're not going to make one, it's up to me to have fun and make up a tag team name. Versus the Vaudevillains, Aiden English and Simon Gotch. Now, it could go either way. It could be that Anderson and Gallows are going to come in and dominate everybody, and then, win the titles, or they're going to dominate everybody and then someone else sneaks in and wins, or Enzo and Cass can surprise everyone and come out on top. The Vaudevillains could have a very entertaining, they could go all the way back to like the 40s with some sort of pinning combination that we haven't seen since the 40s, or even better, the 20s. It's like, ooh, I'm going to do some sort of Indian Deathlock bridge kind of thing, and I'm going to pin them that way. I think they could pull off the Indian Deathlock, I think. So, we'll see. But at any rate, I predict, as usual, that the New Day is going to retain their titles. That's just my, just to say, yeah, sure, why not? You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. John Cena will be taking on AJ Styles in a singles match. Not really for much of anything, but Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are banned from ringside. Whether or not they stay banned, and AJ Styles just ends up getting counted out, but all three of them beat down John Cena again. I don't know. If you really, really don't like John Cena, you'll probably like that ending. So, although I do predict that AJ Styles is probably going to end up coming out on top. But wait, I thought John Cena always kicks out at 2, LOL. Then why isn't he still the U.S. champion from WrestleMania 20? Why isn't he still the WWE champion from WrestleMania 21? Why isn't he still the holder of literally any championship he's won since he debuted? If he always kicks out at 2, yes, great. Except Zack Ryder kicks out at 2 as well, and you call him a jobber. So...
Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter @MarkGibroni. And subscribe to Jabronology TV, youtube.com/fanboymarkgibroni.
The last two matches for WWE Money in the Bank this coming Sunday on the WWE Network. The Money in the Bank ladder match for the number one contendership with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Sami Zayn will be taking on Cesaro and Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens and Alberto Del Rio. Some of these guys, one or two of them, don't look like they'd really do well on a ladder match, but you never know. So I do predict, though, that Alberto Del Rio will end up coming on top of them because of all of them. He's, I think, the closest one to being someone that they would want as a world champion. So we'll see how that turns out. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Gerberology TV. And finally, for the World Championship itself, we have Roman Reigns defending his title against Seth Rollins. So I think he's going to retain for the time being. You never know. Seth Rollins could pull out a surprise, but you never know. I do predict, though, like I said, Roman Reigns to defend.
That's it for another show, kiddies. Check me out on Facebook, where you can keep track of all the news that's right on the mark, from around ringside to the latest concerts. See you at the shows. Later days.
This is 93.5 CHMR FM.